This is the finale I've been waiting for. Not the finale to the series as a whole, no, that's still seemingly a long ways out, at least in real time. I mean, this is the finale to a subplot in the story that has been building up slowly for 367 chapters. Starting all the way back in chapter 5, when we were first introduced to Noelle and learned about her inability to control her magic, which, by the way, was not due to a curse. There was a lot of confusion about that after it was hinted in chapter 221 by Charlotte that just like her, Noelle was also afflicted with a devastating curse. Though later it was revealed that she was actually referring to Gordon, whose family practiced cursed magic. My guess for the reason why Charlotte knew this when his own captain didn't is because she likely went to the family at one point hoping they could use their knowledge of curses to break hers, while Yami was, I don't know, too busy thinking about his next extended vacation to the toilet to be bothered to learn about Gordon's backstory. Regardless, Noelle and her inability to control magic, not a curse, or at least not the kind you may be thinking of, because of instead of being one that stemmed from Mekikula or any magical effect, it was one placed on her solely by the treatment she received from her family. You see, Noelle was born with an overabundance of powerful magic, rivaling or possibly even surpassing that of her mother's, which honestly for a young child was way too much for her to handle, so whenever she tried to use it, it'd go wild or blow up in her face. Now, all Noelle needed was some guidance, someone to help her learn to control her magic, and she would have been fine, which she eventually got after joining the Black Bulls. Sure, most of that guidance was during life or death situations, but Yami, Asta, and the rest were there to help and support her along the way. That led to her very quickly progressing as a wizard, unlocking powerful spell after spell, until eventually she has surpassed even most of the captains as one of the Clover Kingdom's top magic knights in terms of power. And that was even before forming a contract with Houdin or Leviathan. But unfortunately, that all didn't start until she was 15 years old. Before that, it was nothing but constant neglect and torment from her family, most notably Nebra and Solid, who, unlike Nozel, was doing it completely out of malice. That was probably my favorite part about these two chapters because it's very rare that we get to see them get any screen time, especially in extended focus like they do in these chapters. So I was glad we got the time to see into the minds of these two characters and finally understanding what drove them to hate Noelle. And it turns out that both stemmed from jealousy. Nebra jealous over the fact that despite how much she loved her mother, she looks nothing like her, while Noelle was the spitting image. And Solid was jealous over how much more powerful Noelle's magic already was at a young age, despite both of them having the same parents and the same type of magic. Couple those with the fact that for years they believed it was giving birth to Noelle that caused their mother's death, and it's no wonder they would grow to resent her. Doesn't excuse their actions, just now gives us more context as to why. But now that they know the truth about what really happened to her, and see how despite everything they've done, Noelle is risking her life to protect theirs, they are forced to confront their own weakness and muster up the courage to work alongside their younger sister to put a stop to this ghost of their mother. It was a bit rushed, but make no mistake, this was growth for these two characters. They could have easily chosen to accept their mother's offer and be reborn as true humans alongside her, but instead they chose to reconcile with Noelle and make a fresh start with their family, which led to the epic team up we wanted during the battle against Megakula, but are luckily getting here instead the four Silva siblings versus Paladin Acier Silva. And it's a good thing Noelle was getting the backup because alone she was not winning this battle. Don't get me wrong, she was holding her own when Acier was sticking to just using her steel magic, but once he revealed the second magic type she was gifted by Lucius was water magic, the tides completely shifted in her favor. Noelle had to go from trading blow for blow to strictly on the defensive and trying her best to evade all of Acier's large-scale attacks. In fact, it was only thanks to a last-minute intervention from Nebra and Solid that Noelle wasn't killed off by her mother in chapter 372, and due to all three of her siblings that she even managed to land the killing blow in 373. Though, if we're really giving out credit, I guess we should be giving most of it to Kahano, because it was only due to her healing magic that Nozel was able to get back up after that mortal wound he took protecting Nebra from their mom. Without her, they were not pulling this off. Anyway, once Nozel rejoined the fight, they had Nebra use her mist magic to buy them some time in order to plan out what they're going to do next. The plan was actually pretty simple. Nozel would play the role of tank, aggroing Acier's attention solely on him, completing his character arc throughout the story, from being introduced as a mean older sibling that the others feared, to the loving one that would do anything to protect them, while Nebra and Solid would help support Noelle in charging her full power into one big attack, hoping to take out Acier in that one blow. See, Nozel knew that due to her struggling to control her magic for most of her life, Noelle at some point began subconsciously holding back her magic. Even now, in this life or death battle against the strongest opponent any of them have ever faced, she still wasn't using her full power, so he told her that this is a moment for her to finally let it all out. Which we do have to give him credit. He was smart enough to realize in this situation that Acier's healing abilities were negating all the damage that they were doing to her, So the only way they had a chance of taking her down for good was to do it in one attack. On paper, this was simple enough, but what makes this plan so impressive was that there was so much risk involved. Not only did Nozel have to take the brunt of all Acier's attacks, which could have easily led to his death, but in order to be strong enough to buy his younger siblings the time they needed, he had to focus all his magical power on defense, unleashing a brand new spell called Silver Guardian, which the internet has taken to lovingly calling his new transformation the Silver Surfer. But with how cool this new transformation is, it has a huge drawback, because as you should probably know, mercury is poisonous to humans. So by covering himself in it, Nozel was actively doing damage to himself every second he had the spell active. I gotta hand it to him though, immediately after he got healed, he jumped straight into taking double the damage so that he could protect his siblings from having to take as much as they were. Though, that being said, he wasn't the only older sibling making a sacrifice in this chapter, because in order for Noelle to unleash her full power, she had to stop subconsciously holding back like she had been her entire life, and let her magic run wild. And when Noelle noticed and tried to pull back so that she wouldn't hurt them, they told her to keep going, believing that the pain they're taking now is nothing compared to what they did to her entire life. All three of her siblings were willing to put their lives on the line for Noelle in these two chapters, and while it doesn't absolve them of their past misdoings, it does give them the fresh start they wanted. So now, moving forward, we should see a more united Silva family. Well, minus their dad, but I think we can all agree that at this point he is not important. This is how you write a redemption. It was short, but Tabata managed to pull it off in a way that still felt satisfying. My only complaint is that I felt like that last blast from Noelle was a bit too simple. Like, don't get me wrong, I love that the design of, I guess you could call it, cannon she fired was in the shape of Leviathan's head. And I even like the added touch that if you pay close enough attention, we can see she's no longer in her Valkyrie armor, which means that she is truly pouring all of her and Leviathan's combined magic power into that one last attack. It's just, I don't know. I guess I got so used to her attacks having such a violent, chaotic, dragon-like aesthetic to them that it being just a simple beam of magical energy left me feeling a bit meh about it. But regardless of how I feel about the look of the attack, we can't deny its destructive power, as it was able to tear through Acier's magic and completely vaporize her. So there goes the hope that she'd be alive again after the battle's over. Kind of hard to come back from being reduced to nothing, but at least in her final moments, she got to see her children working together like she had always hoped they would. It took 18 years for it to happen, but it finally did, and she could return to the afterlife content, knowing that her kids would be together. Though she did almost make it so one of them wouldn't have been there in that final shot. I don't know if you noticed, even I only saw it after my second reading, but her last attack against Nozel actually managed to break through his armor. As we can see, it began to crack right where he catches the spear. So if she had hit him dead on, we'd be down to just 3 of the Silva siblings. And I guess that would also make Nebra the next captain of the Silver Eagles, since she is the second oldest out of the 4, which is honestly kind of a scary thought. I mean, I don't think she would be a terrible leader, but they definitely wouldn't be anywhere near as effective as a squad as they were under Nozel. Anyway, we are now down to one last paladin out of the 3 that Lucius brought with him into the battle, Morgan. Which, given that we will be dealing with 2 sibling reunions when we focus on that battle, I expect it to be a much more of an emotional roller coaster than this was. But if I had to be honest, I prefer if we didn't switch over to that battle in the next batch of chapters. I'd much rather that for the next few chapters, we focus in on the remaining Black Bulls helping out and taking down the Lucius clones we still have running around first, and then getting to Yami, Ichika, and Noct versus Morgan. That way we can give Tabata more time to really plan that out and make sure it's done well, because that is going to be the last of the battles that the fans are really looking forward to before we focus in on Asta and Yuno versus the real Lucius. If we do it in the reverse order, where we finish off the Morgan fight in the next issue with Jump Giga and then go into defeating the clones, it's going to be a lot harder for the fans to get excited over that. Not to say he wouldn't put as much effort into those as he did with Magna and Lux fight, they're just not as appealing. Though he could definitely make it much more appealing by taking a play from this fight with Noelle and bringing in characters we haven't seen for a very long time as backup. Because even though they only played a minor role in this fight, it was great seeing the Seabed siblings again and getting a glimpse of how much they've improved over the years. And the best part is that unlike in this fight, we can have the returning characters have much more of an active role in the battles. It makes sense for Kaito and Kahano not to be too involved because there was a whole personal aspect to this fight against Acier. It wouldn't have felt right to have anyone besides the 4 siblings involved with that fight, but that's not a factor in the battle against the Lucius clones. So if, say, Mars shows up and helps Vanessa and Gray in their battle, he doesn't have to be sidelined. Or Fanzel working with Gordon, William, and Charlotte. There's plenty of routes for Tabata to take with these upcoming fights, it just comes down to if you will. Anyway, that's it for the video guys, I hope you all enjoyed. Sorry it took me so long to get this review out, I just didn't have time to on the day the chapters actually dropped. And today it took me forever to write the script for the video, and then recording and all that takes a long time. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and again, sorry for being so late. I'm going to try to make some more videos going forward about this chapter and upcoming chapters for Black Clover, my thoughts and stuff like that. So look forward to that in the future. And let me know in the comments down below what your thoughts on the chapter were. Anyway, I'll catch you all next time. Peace.